Well, Anna Carolina Alfinito is a legal advisor at Amazon Watch, and she joins us now from Sao Paulo in Brazil. Anna, a very warm welcome to the programme. Let's just rewind a little bit and start at the beginning. What do we think happened when these two men went missing, and what's the theory now?
Yes, good afternoon. Thank you very much for having me. What we know so far is that these men, they were traveling since last week along the Javari Valley with a team of indigenous peoples that do territorial surveillance in the valley. Today, we know that when they were returning to the city outside of the indigenous land, they met with some people at a riverine fishing community. After this, they disappeared on Sunday. So we recently found out that on Friday, they had an encounter with a group that was illegally entering the indigenous land of armed men, and that they were threatened by these armed men on Friday, 2 days before they disappeared.
Anna, how would you describe the government's response and the way that it's engaged in what's now turned into a search operation?
Government response was in many ways mediocre and very ineffective. People who were on site said that it took government 2 days to actually start operations at a significant level. So between Sunday and Monday and Tuesday, it was mostly the indigenous people and partners of Univaja who were doing the searches. After the international and national repercussion on the media, government finally sent forces, federal police, and a helicopter on Wednesday to the site to actually scale up searches. Many say this was too little and a bit too late. I should also say that the reaction of President Bolsonaro and of the National Indigenous Foundation were very unhappy reaction. So Bolsonaro did seem to blame the two men for what has occurred. These two men were engaged in frontline work of territorial protection in the Amazon. This was not an adventure. So they were doing their job to monitor and denounce what was happening in this indigenous territory, which I should remind us are federal lands in Brazil, which have been abandoned by federal government. So they were there working. And what Bolsonaro has said is it's an attack on human rights and territorial rights defenders in Brazil. And it's very concerning that this is how government reacts and responds to such a situation that government is also responsible for, because these men, they were there working to monitor and denounce illegalities and invasions of indigenous territory. And they were doing this because government was not doing this, because indigenous policy has been dismantled over the past years, because indigenous lands have been abandoned. Indigenous groups and their partners have had to take on this task on their own. So they were there working towards this mission.
So, Anna, it's also an election year, right? So this kind of provocative language that we're hearing from Bolsonaro, what's the end game? Who's he trying to appeal to with his take of the blame game that's appearing around this disappearance?
So the president is clearly trying to evade his responsibility over what's happening, the chaos, the social and environmental chaos that is happening across the northern region of Brazil. Now, at this moment, we have all sorts of illegal markets that are trying to enter and extract resources from indigenous and other protected lands. This put environmental and land defenders at constant risk. It's constant violence that they're under. And this is the result of federal policy, because Brazil knows how to stop deforestation. We did this into 2010s. And Bolsonaro dismantled all of this. So what he's trying to do is to avoid the responsibility for what's happening, for this violence, and for all the other people who are also under threat, for the territories that are being systematically destroyed, for the land encroachments, for the land invasions. So he's clearly trying to evade responsibility.
Anna Carolina Alfinito, legal advisor at Amazon Watch. Thank you.
Thank you very much.